Creator Show. My name's Making Sang, first name Making, and today we're going to be talking to the incredible Natalie Pithers from Genealogy Stories fame, who raised £30,000 in 24 hours on behalf of the Red Cross. How cool is that? Now, let's talk about how she did that, because we're going to be talking about pre-FOMO, liveFOMO, and post-FOMO. So this is a live case study on how she did it, and you're going to learn a lot from her. So let's bring her onto the show.
Hi,
How you doing, Natalie?
I'm good. I was really enjoying you rocking out there. I was doing the same in the background. Good music.
That's all care of StreamYard, who are amazing. So anyway, let's tell the world who you are and what you do, first of all.
I'm Natalie. I'm a family historian and I run a small business called Genealogy Stories, mostly helping people to write about their ancestors.
Amazing. Now we're here today because you, as I mentioned in the introduction, you managed to raise £30,000 in 24 hours on an idea that you had called History for Ukraine. Let's tell the world a little bit about that first of all.
Yeah, so I had this kind of mad idea on a random Sunday after having a shower in the morning. I had this random idea about I wanted to do something to help people in Ukraine and to raise some money for charity. And I had this idea of running like a kind of Live Aid type event, but full of historians, because I'm a historian. So that evolved into a 24-hour live stream of history talks called History for Ukraine. So yeah.
So you had the idea, and within 2 weeks, you managed to create this 24-hour show, didn't you? So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it was 2.5 weeks, 52 speakers. I think we had about 12 hosts, backup hosts, tech people supporting behind the scenes.
Wow.
It was crazy. It was one of the most incredible experiences of my life. I think I'll be dining out on it for a long time.
Now, at the start of the show, I talked about pre-FOMO, live-FOMO, and post-FOMO, because that's exactly what you did. You managed to generate the buzz and excitement about your show, History for Ukraine, in the pre-FOMO stage. Now, let's talk a little bit about how you did that, because I thought you were absolutely amazing.
Thank you. I think there were several stages to it, really. So, firstly, we knew that we needed to get speakers on board, and really quickly as well. And in fact, actually, we had over 200 volunteers within 48 hours, having completed a survey. So that worked well. So I basically tweeted a few historians that I follow, a couple that I knew followed me, and said about my idea and asked them to get on board. And then as soon as they said yes, I kept basically sharing their names and name dropping them and saying, Dr. Janina Ramirez is on board. Won't you be on board too? Yeah, and then I also asked other people to tag in their favorite historians. So that kind of went on for a good sort of 48 hours. And that kind of generated all the speakers. That in itself had started generating quite a buzz as people saw more and more names being added to the list of people who'd agreed to speak. So it had like a real domino effect where it just started getting bigger and bigger and bigger, basically.
So in that pre-FOMO stage, so this is before you were saying that, on the day, this is what we're going to do. You were putting a call out on Twitter for a lot of the speakers. And I really liked how on Twitter you said you got people to tag their favorite historian and try to get them into the conversation as well.
Yeah, I tried to create a snowball effect where where the historians would see that so many people had tagged them that they were like, okay, this thing looks real, and I'll give it a go.
And a lot of your pre-FOMO activity wasn't exclusive to Twitter, because you also went on Facebook Live every day as well. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I did a live stream over Facebook and Twitter each day. I think I did it over YouTube to a certain extent as well. I wanted people to see that we were working hard on creating the event behind the scenes. I wanted them to be able to follow the journey, and to start caring about the event before it happens, so that they were more likely to open their wallets and donate. And and also generally to keep people updated as to what was happening next, so that I didn't get quite so many emails and messages in my inbox, sort of, asking me how things were going and what was going on and whether they'd been selected a speaker and that kind of thing. So I tried to use it as a communication tool as well. So yeah, and I literally just went live and went, yeah, today we made the speaker agreement, and today we sent it out, and today we did this, and took people along that journey, really.
And even in showing behind the scenes of what you were doing and letting people know which speakers come on board and which volunteers have come on board and all the rest of it, through your daily lives, you actually were getting donations then as well, weren't you?
We were, before we went live, we'd already raised £13,000. So,
Wow.
and then actually on the live event, I think we actually got up to 40k during the 24, by the very end of the 24, and then it's now up to just shy of 53k. So
Yeah, that's incredible.
yeah,
So in the lead, so pre-FOMO, you'd raised how much?
£13,000.
13. And
Yeah,
then on the day itself, during the 24-hour event, that's the live FOMO, you raised 30,000, and
yeah,
then it's now up to
y-
52,000. That's
yeah,
incredible.
yeah,
And
yeah. It was
where
amazing.
was the money going to?
The money was going to the Disaster Emergency Committee slash Red Cross. So it's a Red Cross fund that feeds into the Disaster Emergency Committee.
Great. And you can still donate. So I just thought I'd put a
And
little
yeah,
ticker there as well, because people were donating even yesterday, which is amazing. So we've talked about pre-FOMO. So that was, getting people on board, doing your daily lives, generating that buzz and excitement, and and showing behind the scenes of what was happening, which is amazing. Let's talk about the event itself. So live FOMO. What did you do there?
so we had tweets scheduled out before every single speaker. So it would say, who's coming up next. And then basically we twisted your arm making to kindly donate your time, along with a couple of other individuals behind the scene to make sure that tweets were going out whilst people were actually speaking, saying that, so-and-so is covering such and such right now. You can go and watch it here now. Don't miss it. And that kind of thing, and tagging people in, and that sort of sharing going on as well.
And you had a hashtag as well, and people were jumping on board the hashtag and letting people know of the event. And like you said earlier, 52 incredible speakers. Can you name drop some of the incredible speakers that you managed to ask to contribute to this
Yeah,
event?
we had Charles Spencer, we had Dr. Janina Ramirez, Professor Susanna Lipscomb, Professor Kate Williams, Dr. Kate Lister, Dr. Julia Late. Oh, there's so many names that I start going blank. Tracy Borman, and forgetting their titles, which is really bad. So yeah, especially because a lot of them are female historians, so you have to, they need their titles because it's such an achievement. But yeah, there were just so many. More than it. I thought when I tweeted it, I have a good friendships in the genealogy community. So I thought when I tweeted it, it would probably get quite a bit of traction in the genealogy world, and we'd have quite a lot of genealogists jumping on, which we did. And then, but what was so lovely is the wider history community got involved as well. And then it became this wonderful collaborative thing where people of all different types of history were talking. And for me, that was really special because one of my other hats is volunteering for a group called Historians Collaborate, which is all about historians collaborating across fields. So that was like a kind of cherry on the cake for me. Yeah.
And the actual show itself was amazing. It was so wonderfully produced. It was just so professionally produced because you had regular updates on, videos showing why, why you decide to run the event, showing some footage of, what was happening what's happening in Ukraine, and you were showing regular updates on how much people, how much had been raised so far. And there was a lot of work in the illustrations and graphics as well to get, people to come on to tune into when the historians were speaking as well. Now, you wanted to give a name drop to your
Yeah,
special
I
lady,
did.
did
And I
that?
want to make sure that I get it right, because it was Ilka from Arts Spark Web Design, who actually got in touch and said, you're not on Instagram, because I'm not a particular Instagram user. You're not posting about it on Instagram. Can I help? And she came up with a lot of the images, which we then used on Twitter as well. So images of the speakers and that kind of thing. And she was really good at putting up images for the donation updates that we used as well. So big shout out to her. And then the company that created the media for us on the day, so the videos that we played in between speakers asking people to donate, they volunteered their time as well. So everybody who worked on it volunteered. They were a company called Heritage Media. And what was lovely about that was actually originally we were working with somebody else who had volunteered, and then they knew of this company, got in touch with them, they agreed, and then they went, you know what, these people can do a bigger, they've got more expertise than me, so I'm going to step down, let these people volunteer. So I loved that about the event, that people weren't precious about, I'm doing this and I volunteered to do this. It really was about raising money for Ukraine and not about any one individual, which was wonderful.
Now, you managed to generate the ultimate FOMO, because for the 24-hour event, it was only available for the replay for a further 48 hours, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Now, explain why you did that.
Well, it was a really difficult decision. One, we wanted to protect the speakers' IP because they were all volunteering for free, and we wanted to protect their IP. But I also knew that if you give people too long, they don't watch it. They just think, "Oh, I'll watch that tomorrow." It's just human nature. We all do it. If you say to somebody, "Oh, this is going to be up forever," then it will take them forever to watch it. Sometimes I wish that maybe I'd chosen slightly longer than 48 hours, but it's a really difficult line. I had a few people that messaged and said they were disappointed it had gone off because they hadn't had a chance to watch it all. But then on the other hand, I think it definitely helped create this buzz and this excitement and this feeling that you wanted to be involved in it, and you wanted to be involved in it now. So yeah, it's a fine line.
But you did it so well, because as I was live tweeting, there were people saying, "Oh, how long is this going to be up for?" And so I did respond and say, "Well, further 48 hours." And then people, said, "Oh, that's my Saturday sorted out," or "That's my Sunday sorted out," which was absolutely amazing. So we've talked about pre-FOMO. We talked about your epic work at the live FOMO. How about post-FOMO? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, again, so post-FOMO, we had scheduled out, big shout out again to one of our volunteers, Joe Saunders, who did a lot of that. We had scheduled out tweets that basically reminded people of who had been speaking. A lot of the speakers as well put up their own images of themselves having spoken, and reminded people. We made sure that we kept sharing those and retweeting those. And we retweeted them across multiple accounts as well. So we had the History for Ukraine account, which had a bit of a smaller following than my personal account, just because it had only been created 2.5 weeks ago. So I made sure that anything that History for Ukraine shared, I then reshared on my timeline as well. So it got that kind of double boost. And we also spoke again about the journey that we had with sharing it afterwards, because we had a little bit of problem with YouTube with a company that may be suspicious, not sure, that had claimed that less than 6 seconds of the 12-hour of a 10-hour stream was possible copyright infringement, which meant it got blocked. So then we had to put it on. We put it on the website instead, and so it was fine. We found a workaround, but we made sure that we were telling people about that and getting people to share that information as well, and generally asking for people's help. Like, don't let this stop us from raising money, because it could, and people got really, really behind supporting us with that.
Amazing. And as I say, when we were talking a little offline earlier, after the event, people were still, sharing the tweets and liking the tweets a few days after, a week or two after the event, and people are still donating even to this day, because they've seen these, these tweets that have occurred. Now, you must have learned so much in putting together this epic event in 2 weeks, getting 52 speakers together, going live every day to keep people updated about what you were doing. And then, of course, engaging with the speakers to let them know what was happening behind the scenes and where they were going to come on, and have this, this spreadsheet of, the run of show and all the rest of it. There must be a few things that you'd like to have done differently. I mean, you've mentioned some of them already. What were the biggest lessons that you learned?
Probably having maybe a bit more flexibility on the speaker agreement, so that we potentially could have done a snap extra 24 hours maybe upon request. If we'd have said 72 hours, tweeted it that it was 48, and then maybe been able to go, ha, we're giving you an extra day, that might have been nice.
Yeah.
So that was probably one of them. Probably also just the level of communication that you need. You think that you've said something, and actually you often need to repeat the same message multiple times for it to get through. I think that old adage of you're the only person that sees everything you do, and so to you it feels like you've said something like 100 times, but actually I'd still get messages right up to a few hours before the event saying, I'd like to volunteer to speak, and I thought I had already told people, we've selected people and that kind of thing. So that probably that you can never communicate something too much, really. And yeah, I think those are the biggest lessons. I think the rest of the lessons were mostly about me as a person, which is probably less interesting. And I know one of the volunteers, Gudrun, who was Gudrun Laurent, who was a fantastic help behind the scenes. She did a Twitter post, a Twitter thread, all about the things that this event had taught her about herself, and I could really relate to that because it was such a experience. I kind of came away feeling similar. So.
Amazing. I'll have to find that tweet and share it. That's amazing. Well, Natalie, you are an incredible, incredible woman to put this idea and implement it within 2 weeks, have an epic team around you to put it together, and most importantly, raise and continue to raise money for the disaster emergency appeal on behalf of the Red Cross. It is just absolutely amazing. Now, if people want to find out more about you and more about your your business, where can people find you?
They can go to the link on the screen, which is https So genealogystories.co.uk is where I am. And I'd just like to say as well that I am just an ordinary person. So if anyone else is out here who feels really passionate about helping the people in Ukraine, don't sit there thinking I had any special knowledge that you don't have. I think if anyone would be interested in running like a business talks for Ukraine or anything like that, and they want the materials or some advice on how I went about it, then please get in touch, because I'd love to see other organizations and other areas of interest perhaps do something similar and raise similar amounts, because they can't have enough, really.
Well, thank you so much again, Natalie. It's been absolutely amazing working with you, learning from you, and having this great conversation. Any final words before we end this broadcast?
No, just thank you for having me, and thank you for your amazing job live tweeting the event during the day. It really helped amazingly, and your moral support as well. So thank you.
No, thank you, Natalie. Thank you.
We do that British thing now, aren't we? Just no, thank you. No, really, thank you.
Well, thanks again, Natalie. This has been the FOMO Creator Show with your host, Making Sang, first name May King. And if you liked this show and would like to know more about creating FOMO, then drop me a line. I'm only a tweet away.